Ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks ago on this platform, I offered my unsolicited advice to Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance about a few things they needed to do if they were serious about the 2027 presidential election. And for those who watched that video, some of the outstanding two issues I advised them to do was, number one, to strengthen their individual parties within the coalition. Because there is no way Azimio can be strong if ODM is weak. There is no way Azimio can be strong if Wiper is weak. There is no way Azimio can be strong if Dark Kenya, NAK Kenya are weak. So I advised them to ensure that Kalonzo Musyoka retreats to Kambani and consolidates the base. Raila Odinga retreats back to its bases and consolidates the bases. The second advice which I offered them was to identify their presidential candidate early enough. And if that candidate is going to be Raila Amolo Odinga again, then they needed to identify Raila Amolo Odinga early enough, come up with the strategies on how they were going to sell Raila Amolo Odinga again to Kenyans, Raila the Sixth. And if that candidate is not going to be Raila Amolo Odinga, then they needed to identify that candidate. If that candidate is Wamalwa, Kalonzo, or even Martha Karua, they just need to identify that candidate, go outside there, come up with the strategies on how they were going to sell that candidate, and of course, without even forgetting the formation, because politics are a game of numbers, the best running mate for that candidate. And today in the dailies, I've seen this push by ODM party to offer once again Raila Amolo Odinga as a presidential candidate in 2027. In 2027. And that's going to form the basis of this analysis. And several questions are coming to mind. Can Raila Amolo Odinga defeat William Ruto in 2027? Because if Ruto defeated Raila and Uhuru, I know most of you guys are not comfortable with the word defeat. If Ruto could rig himself with the system, these guys with the system, Uhuru president, Raila inside there, what strategies will they use to defeat Ruto? What strategy will Raila Odinga use to defeat Ruto in 2027? Again, what's the magic which Raila Odinga is going to use in 2027? Because there could be other factors. Remember, Kenya Kwanza government is currently one of the most and the easiest political formation to defeat, I can assure you. And the other thing is, can the other principals, Kalonzo, Martha, agree to support Raila Amolo Odinga again? Can they agree? If they can answer all those questions, then I think ODM party can go ahead and front Raila Odinga as a presidential candidate. But and because in politics nothing happens out of mere coincidence, and that everything in politics normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objectives, I want us to understand the objective which these headlines wanted to achieve today. Because there is no way someone from nowhere can just come and splash Raila Odinga's 2027 bid right now in the Republic of Kenya when we know the current situation in the Republic of Kenya. So I want to reveal to you guys the ugly truth behind the ODM party's push to have Raila Odinga as the next or as a presidential candidate in 2027. But before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to dive in. But before I dive in, I want to thank the following people for the coffee which I received earlier today. Thank you so much. It's right here. Thank you so much. And you can also do the same using the numbers you are seeing on your screen now. Ladies and gentlemen, let us go straight to the point. Why do you think there's push within ODM party to have Raila Amolo Odinga as a presidential candidate in 2027? Because if you ask me, 2027 is still very far. But Azimio need to identify a candidate. And I don't understand why ODM as a party is coming out with Raila Odinga at this stage. Why are they coming out with a name? Number one, there is serious fear in ODM party that if Raila Odinga is not a presidential candidate, then the strongholds might not really vote for Raila Odinga. And they are giving the case of Luo Nyanza, Western, and Coastal regions. Those regions have traditionally voted for Raila Amolo Odinga. Then you now tell them Raila Odinga is not on the ballot. Then there is Kalonzo Musyoka. And what would be the implication of that? It means ODM will have few members of parliament. So they have to push for Raila Odinga to run for the presidency and maybe create a momentum. Then once that momentum is created, then they can now decide. Kalonzo will also be running the other side, Martha Karua. Then they can now sit down and agree that who is going to be our Azimio presidential candidate. But the biggest challenge they have is their stronghold. If Raila Odinga is not on the ballot, who is going to be the main guy in those strongholds? Can Kalonzo Musyoka outwit Ruto in Luo Nyanza? Can Kalonzo Musyoka win the support of the Luo nation if Raila Odinga is not on the ballot? So which means Raila must run, create the momentum. Then at the end of the day, maybe Kalonzo Tosha, the way he did with Mwai Kibaki. But the biggest fear is that. And someone was also sharing with me that probably the plan is to have Raila run, Kalonzo run, Ruto run, and maybe another candidate run. And by that, Kalonzo will consolidate the Kamba vote and his voting block. Raila Odinga will consolidate his vote and voting block. Then Ruto will be the main challenger. Then they go. Then Ruto, Raila, Kalonzo. None of them will be able to meet the threshold, 50% plus one vote. So which means a rerun is going to be occasioned. And after at that point, then whoever becomes number 2 is supported by who is number 3. So if Raila will emerge number 3, then will now carrying on with that momentum support Kalonzo Musyoka. So that is the first strategy. There's the fear of Raila Odinga losing the stronghold if he's not running. So they have to tell their strongholds that Raila Odinga is running. And of course, that news, as much as you are not comfortable with it, Raila Odinga's strongholds are very comfortable with Raila Odinga running in 2027. Number 2 is personal interest. I've always told you on this platform that politics has only 2 constants: interest and betrayal. Now, if Raila Odinga will be running, there are individual politicians within ODM party who are going to benefit directly. So for them, and because politics is about their interests, as long as they'll be able to win their seats, MP seats, governor seats, Senate seats, MC seats, they get nominated. For them, even if Raila Odinga were to lose, they don't care. And we have so many people in ODM like that. They just want Raila Odinga to be on the ballot. Then they ride on the wave, win their seats. In fact, some of them would even negotiate. I remember in the last parliament, in Luo Nyanza, how many constituencies conducted nominations? If you ask me, none. There's only one member of parliament who never got his certificate back. The former Kisumu Central member of parliament. The rest, they just negotiated as members of parliament that, Baba, what you want, just endorse us. We are serving second terms, then we'll support you fully. So these are the people who ended up not mobilizing their grounds. These are the people who ended up creating apathy, voter apathy in Raila Odinga's stronghold. Because if, for example, a gubernatorial candidate was not very popular, a senatorial candidate was not popular, and a member of parliament was not very popular, then you give them the ticket. The others also had their people. Then what happens? The supporters of those people say, okay, see, now we are not going to vote. And they did nothing really to even mobilize. So They are serving their interest. Number three, I also tend to think that this headline is actually a sponsored headline to gauge the reaction of the ODM supporters. How are they receiving the possibility of Raila Odinga becoming another presidential candidate? Are the bases excited? Right now, I'm sure they've already listened to the voices online. They've already listened to the voices on the ground, and already they know. Probably they were even conducting some opinion polls. So someone wanted to gauge the mood, so that if the mood is anti-Raila Odinga's bid, then they will start figuring out how to withdraw Raila. But if the mood is for Raila Odinga, then they can figure out how are they going to push for Raila Odinga's bid. So that's number three. Number four, if you ask me, this could also be a strategy to raise the stakes for negotiations. You see, if Raila Odinga is not a presidential candidate, let's say for example, and is supporting Kalonzo, what is he going to get in return? Is he going to be a running mate? Is he going to be the prime minister? What is Raila Odinga going to get? And in that government, how many cabinet secretaries is he going to be allowed to appoint? For that to happen, they must, ODM must raise the stake. Say we are running. Push outside there. And of course, ODM is a more dominant party, more noisy, more firebrand. They will overrun other Azimio partners, like Kalonzo Musyoka. So that if you are now to negotiate and say, okay, we are supporting Kalonzo, then Kalonzo, out of the 22 or 21 cabinet, we are going to have 12. Out of the what we are going to have, that is the condition, and we are writing it down. That can only happen if you raise the stake. That's what I'm seeing here. Because the moment ODM will get outside there campaigning for Raila Odinga, Kalonzo is going to be dofted. I'm not sure about what Martha Karua is doing currently, but I don't think she'll be able to cope with that. And lastly, and this has happened severally, because I've worked with with the NASA. I worked during NASA time with them at the Okoa Kenya Secretariat. I know there's always infiltration. During our time at Okoa Kenya, when the alleged signatures, we were infiltrated during data entry. Someone just came with people we didn't know as data clerks. And when I raised these issues with my boss then, Engineer Karo Rege, nobody listened. Nobody. He can bear me witness. They just saw sense when the first batch, because I was actually part of the team that were responsible for verification. And we verified things. And of course, even at that time, I suspected our co-chair, who was Johnson Mudhama, that he was sabotaging Okoa Kenya. Things are now clear. Yeah, I remember Kari Orege would stand up during meetings, because Mudhama would come when people are meeting, discussing things, then he would just tear papers. Anyway, those are stories for other days. I don't know what you think. If you love this video, if you've watched up to this point, please let me know in the comment section. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.